had a 19-0 run going into the second half, and basically after that, Iowa State never looked back. Um, the main point guy in this one was Joshua Jefferson with 24 points. And once again, Blake Buchanan uh, had 6 rebounds in this game, came up huge once again. And I believe that Blake Buchanan is the guy that holds the glue together. You look at his stat line against Iowa, he had 6 points and 6 rebounds, but those 6 rebounds were huge, man. And I truly believe that he is a difference maker on this team, and I feel like dare I say I think he's on the level of like what a um and Hassan Ward was for the 2023-2024 team, a presence inside that can also um, go in the paint and have it, and also has a little bit of mid-range game. You've seen him make floaters. He's that guy who can fight down in the paint and get us crucial rebounds when we need him. Also to clean up on the glass. And hey, and he's a guy that can also catch lobs too. So he's basically averaging about, well, I believe 9 points and 6 rebounds a game, which is absolutely spectacular from that position. And he's really, really coming into his own and a player that could definitely be one of the reasons why we go deep. And that's another thing that I wanted to talk about real quick is we're going to talk about how far this basketball team can go. One thing I want to look at with Iowa State is let's take a look at their schedule. Obviously, right now they're 11-0. They had 2 bye games. Obviously, they had the one against Eastern Illinois where they came out flat and they won by 20. Ended up winning by 25. They have Long Beach State on the 21st. I believe that's on Sunday. Houston Christian on the 29th, and then they just get back after it on the second of January as they start off with West Virginia, which is a Friday night. So you look at these. We'll say the first 5 games in conference are West Virginia at Baylor, Oklahoma State at Kansas, and at Cincinnati. So you look at these first 5 games. At least I'd say, really, if you come out of this 4-1, or shoot, I mean, even if you go into a Kansas team that is good but not like a world beater that you can, I really do believe that this team can start off 5-0 in conference. These first 5 games in conference are actually pretty doable. And then you see Cincinnati will also be tough, but Cincinnati is a place where we've also had pretty good success. UCF is always tough. At Oklahoma State is going to be a tough one. Colorado is a team that's also been pretty tough, and going down to Bramlage is always a challenge on February 1st. But the way this schedule sets up, if you start off 5-0, I really obviously with the way that this season has gone and with the way they throttle Purdue, I really do think that maybe it is time maybe as for us as fans, maybe this team is better than what we actually thought. I know a lot of people were saying, hey, maybe if we have come out this thing with 2 to 3 losses, we're going to come out of this 13-0, which especially with we didn't know how the freshman contributions were going to be, and they've been absolutely spectacular. I do think that uh, Taylor Torrey is doing well, but Jamarian Bateman, I think once he comes into his own offensively a lot more, this team is definitely going to be running on all cylinders. I think just the starting five that you have right now, um, being able to keep up that intensity and still being top 10, or I would say top 15 in offense and top 5 in defense, or top 3 in defense. Absolutely amazing. I think those are the ingredients of a Final Four run. And at least in bracketology right now, Iowa State is now the second 1 seed right behind Michigan. Um, Obviously, you look at the key main sites that Iowa State will want to play in. Obviously, this is all circulation. It's still early in the season, but it's just something that we should definitely bring up. I believe in the South bracket it's Oklahoma City, and then I know in the Midwest bracket is St. Louis. The ideal situation would be if Michigan falters a little bit, and let's say we're still as good as we think we are, and we get the number one. The ideal travel um, for Iowa State fans would be St. Louis in the first few rounds, then Chicago for the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, Indianapolis for the Final Four. Obviously, I'm getting ahead of myself saying Iowa State's a Final Four team, but with the way that they've been playing, the way they have been doing offensively, I'm really, really excited to see how this team does in the first half of this conference play, because the first half of conference is pretty good, and then I believe after K State you have Baylor at TCU, Kansas at home. This 3 game stretch right here, or actually I'll say this 5 game stretch right here is going to be crucial. Actually, no, six games to end the season. You got Kansas at home, Houston on Big Monday, at BYU, at Utah. Utah is definitely going to be a letdown game after the game against BYU, because BYU is probably going to wear ISU out with the way with their spacing and the way that they can shoot the 3 ball. And just with AJ DeBonsa, I'm really, really excited to see AJ DeBonsa versus Killian Torrey or Tamin Lipsey. That's going to be a great elite matchup. Utah has just a chance. I'm just saying, just has a chance to be a classic letdown game. Tech at home, a Saturday game at 3 p.m. on CBS Sports Network, and then this is going to be the revenge game. I also think that this game right here, if Iowa State is good as good as we think, this could possibly be a top 3 matchup in Tucson, where Arizona and Iowa State are going to be playing again. And where you saw in this game last year, where Caleb Love hit that 3/4 of a court length full court of a 3-pointer to take the game into overtime. We're gonna see what this Iowa State team is made of. So yeah, those are my thoughts on basketball. Now let's move on to the formation of the coaching staff. It was reported, um, and it's been reported for the last week that Jesse Bobbitt, the Washington State head coach, or not the Washington State defensive coordinator, is coming over to co-defensive coordinate with uh, with crap. Excuse me, this is bad TV, but uh, Russ from Toledo, but I excuse me, excuse my ignorance. 1 second. Gee, sorry guys. I usually am more on top of things. I completely apologize. Definitely will be more prepared for next show. Yes, sorry, Russ Watson. I apologize. Russ Watson is going to be co-defensive coordinating with Jesse Bobbitt from Washington State. So very excited to see what this defensive defense is going to look like, especially when you're running 4 down linemen. So that is going to be something to see. Is something that, like I said in the last show, that fans have been clamoring for. the past few years, honestly. But we are going to talk about Jalen Bibbs, who was the new hire as the defensive line coach. We're going to show you him. He is a guy that followed Jimmy Rogers from Washington State, as well as and he was also the D line coach as at 2023 and 2024 at South Dakota State. So this is one of Jimmy Rogers' right hand men. So very very excited to see the work that he does with our D line. With that, I'm going to share some notes that I took. Um, Oh yeah, and as I did more digging on the staff, Jake Thornton is the offensive line coach at Auburn. This is a guy who had Pro Football Focus as a top 10 offensive line going into 2025. So really excited to see him grow and see what this offensive line can potentially be. Obviously, we know that Ryan Clanton is going to be a huge loss for this defense, but I'm going to give you some numbers from Jesse Babbitt's defense at Washington State. His defense forced 28 sacks. And then another thing that I think fans will like Jalen Bibbs defensive tackles and linemen and D linemen combined for 15 sacks out of the 28. That's something that you really really like to see, especially when you really you see that your main four guys that you have in the line can get pressure. They can get pressure from anywhere. So that as an offense, as an opposing offense, you can't do anything when all your four guys can rush the passer, and that's something that Iowa State has been missing on their defense, at least since Will McDonald. So overall, the defense forced 28 sacks, 64 tackles for loss, and they were tied at 26 in points per game at 20.17 points per game. And who was that tied with? Iowa State. And they were also 18th in total defense. So, and the numbers say that they were also a top 20 defense in the nation. They were a very, very stingy defense. So really, really excited about these hires. I would definitely try to find more information as it comes. Once we get the full hiring of the staff, I will be back on here to share that with you guys. And you know, in this world of college football, you know, at least in this modern era of college football, um, it can be really, really tough on players and families to make these type of decisions. Obviously, as fans, we would love them to be Cyclones forever, but obviously, we know that not, things don't last forever. We thought that Matt Campbell was going to be here forever, and unfortunately, he's not. But he gave us a good 10 years. I will just say this is just with all these players that could possibly leave or possibly stay, I just say this, and I'm not telling you how to be a fan. I just say just be thankful for what they've definitely get for what they've given to this university, and just I mean sometimes they're doing it for themselves. They're making the best decision for them and their family. So for me, that's just what I have to say about this whole situation. But in good news, with that being said, we do have a player that did confirm that he is coming back. So I'm going to share that with you, and we're going to share that tab. And Keaton Rochkup, played the eighth back position at tight end, he said excited to keep playing in Jack Trice with Cyclone football and to be coached by great leaders like Coach Rogers and Coach Roll. Can't wait for what the future holds. And honestly, I really do think that that's a very good sign. Keaton Roskip is a guy that I definitely wanted to hold on to, and that's really a good piece to have back in the tight end room. I'm really hoping that we can either or that we can keep both Bramer and Burkle, and having Bramer, Burkle, and Roskip in that tight end room would be elite. So I'm very encouraged by that, and hopefully we'll get more posts like these within the next few days. Obviously, we probably won't hear a lot because a lot of these these players are still students, so they have it's finals week this week at Iowa State, which is why I've been doing solo shows. But this is going to be interesting to see. Obviously, you've seen other big names just across college football going into the transfer portal. Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati. Um, you see Dylan Raiola from Nebraska, he's in the portal. You see DJ Lagway from Florida, he's in the portal. I think this is probably going to be one of the most insane transfer portals, probably of all time. So just sit back and watch, and I think we'll really, me and Cody will really do a deep dive on this roster as soon as we know and as soon as like the transfer portal comes and goes, make sure to come to Believe in Iowa State for your coverage of and give and Cody and I will give you our thoughts on how this roster makeup is. I'm really excited to break that down with him, and really excited to see who stays and who goes. So get excited. This is a brand new era of Cyclone football. Also, we still have a very fun winter to look forward to, guys, because we have a top 10 women's team and a top 10 men's team. Sky is the limit for both of those teams. So, with that, we are going to end today's show. Obviously, with being by myself, these shows are going to be pretty quick, about 20 to 30 minutes each show. So I just wanted to come on here and give you my thoughts on, the landscape of Iowa State football and my thoughts on Iowa State basketball. I believe Cody should be back on Friday, so make sure to join us on Friday after we break down the playoff matchups and maybe take a look and hear our thoughts on what bowl games you should be watching this bowl season. Before we go, I want to share a few things. I want to give a thank you to our presenting sponsor, FanDuel, for the Believe in Iowa State podcast. FanDuel has been a great partner to work with. They have great promos right now, different types of tokens for the NBA, NHL, NFL. NFL is ramping into playoff form. The playoff race is tight, especially in the NFC. So we'll have to see who comes out of that. And the AFC it's going to be interesting now. We're going to have a Chiefs-less playoffs for the first time in a decade. So it's going to be interesting to see if Josh Allen or maybe Lamar Jackson, if they make it, can finally make a Super Bowl this year. So we'll have to see. Also, if you want to find me on Twitter and chat it up with me and talk ball, you can find me, Tyler, on Twitter at SciTi You can find Cody on Twitter at Tierney's Burner. That's where you can find Cody. Also, FeedSpot, a online publication that rates podcasts. We are a top 40 most listened to podcast in the state of Iowa overall, and a top 15 sports podcast in the state of Iowa. So thank you, state of Iowa listeners. Thank you, everyone who has supported me along the way as I have decided to do this journey. Um, as well as Twitter, we have 5 other forms of social media. We have Twitter, or obviously Twitter, but YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. The other one I forgot to add is Twitch. We are also on Twitch at Believe in ISU 2025. So I am about to sign off. Thank you guys for joining in on a quick show and episode of the Believe in Iowa State podcast. Roll clones, baby.